My name is Alex Schlagman and I'm building a multi-channel social shopping application called Zim. Zim turns smartphones into pocket personal shoppers that take the legwork out of the shopping process and augment your ability to make smart shopping decisions. Essentially, Zim gets you better deals on all the products you want, saves you time through the shopping process and takes buyer remorse out of the equation. As a startup myself, I found that one of the most important things and lessons that you have to learn is to get out of the building and build your entire business plan and your products with your customers. So raising seed funding in the UK is very different, I found, to how some of my friends and counterparts in the US have experienced it, particularly over on the West Coast in Silicon Valley. So starting a business as a mobile application or as a web application where you're engaging a user base using technology or software in some way is very much in vogue at the moment. But from an angel funding perspective, there are certain challenges that any new startup is going to have to consider. Raising money prior to having a product in market with real customers and real revenues is really challenging, and you're already counting out a big chunk of the angel funding marketplace. What I found is that Startup Loans provides a really good platform to enable you to raise the right amount of money to build a prototype, to prove your concept, and enable you to raise future funding rounds. Now, I think there's often a trade-off between having your grand vision and understanding where you start. What's your go-to-market? What's your minimum viable version of the product that you can get live, test with real customers, and then build from there? And what we found over the course of the last 4 to 6 months since we've started the business is that our vision has stayed constant, but our start point has shifted and evolved as we spend more and more time with customers. And I think it's really important for every startup to have a big vision, but equally important for every startup to understand where they begin. I think it's really important for any startup CEO, particularly in the technology software space, to understand that a big part of your role over the coming months and years will be raising funds. So from my point of view, our first round of fundraising came from the Startup Loans. They provided the platform for us to be able to build a prototype, to prove a concept with an audience of target customers, and enable us to now go out to market to engage angel investors to raise our next round of funding. So I think it's important to know that even once you've raised the initial funds to start the business, in high growth technology spaces like what we're operating with Zim.io, that fundraising will be a part of your job every day. I think one of the most important things that any new startup has to consider is mentoring, and mentoring has value from various different sides, and it's lonely being a startup, and having a mentor can be almost like having a therapist at times. But having a mentor can also plug the gaps and build your skills into areas where you're less strong or less competent at the moment. So Paul Dowling from Dreamstake is one of my mentors. He was the guy who originally introduced me to the Startup Loans company and talked me and walked me through that process. And Paul provides me a huge amount of value in terms of connecting with some real influencers within Tech City, which is London's take, or even Europe's take, on Silicon Valley. So I don't think it's worth beating around the bush. I don't think being an entrepreneur is for everyone. You have to be able to accept the chaos and deal with that lack of structure and be the kind of person who really driven to build something out of nothing, which is a really challenging thing to do. But if you are that kind of person, you do have that kind of energy, that desire, that fire inside of you to create something new, then there is nothing else, I believe, that will make you happy in your life unless you do actually take the plunge and give it a go.